Here we go.
Here we go.
Hey,
Mhm.
hey, hey.
Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday.
Yes, yes, yes.
What's going on? We made it through the week. This week
Mhm.
actually flew by really fast for me. Before I knew it, it was Thursday, and then now it's Friday. I'm like, wow, like this
Right.
is crazy.
Listen,
Mhm.
half this month is already gone.
Right. A lot has happened in these last 2 weeks. This
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks have been has been very eventful for us. I was not even say just for me, but for us as a team. This 2 weeks have been has
Sorry.
been like showings and
Oh yeah.
everybody wants to get their credit fixed for the new year. It's like clients are just coming knocking on doors
Mhm.
like, hey, you remember me from 2 years ago?
Yes, yes.
Year ago.
It's a
Yes.
good thing. It's a
But
good thing.
I yes, I am definitely very thankful, very grateful. It's a blessing. I'm happy that everybody is kind of getting on board. I think people are starting to really realize just how important credit is,
Yes.
Mhm.
especially with all of the information that we have. We are in an information era, and I think a lot of times with Instagram and YouTube University, people are seeing how to use OPM, right? Other people's money. And then a lot of people have built or established businesses and LLCs and S corps. However, they've reached a point of a dead end, meaning that they want to get loans for their business, they want to get credit cards, but they see that unfortunately, because their personal credit is not in a good standing, that it's really holding them back from moving further in their business and really being able to get the capital they need in order to scale the business up, and take it from being a newly started business to a small business and then eventually to a large business. But we need to have the capital. So I think it's very important. Everybody's starting to realize how important personal credit is.
Right.
And also, I think another thing that is also encouraging people to fix their credit is these creditors are not playing right now. They're sending out
Mhm.
tons of judgments.
Yeah.
Long gone are the days of just being able to send out a dispute letter and it just wipe off your credit. They're actually now selling the debt off to another third party, and then it
Yep.
comes back on your credit again. And then if
Mhm.
you're not in a position to, and you don't know what to do, how to answer it, and you let them validate it, it's actually being some of these creditors are taking it all the way to court and filing judgments against you. And with the judgment right now, it's good because judgments don't actually go on your credit report because they're not
Mm-mm.
allowed to.
Right.
Mhm.
However, it is public record and anybody can open it up and see that you have a judgment under your name. So it's
Mhm.
important to just try to keep up with it and try to avoid judgments at all costs, especially because I feel like this year is going to be life changing for a lot of people who are looking to buy houses and properties and build their portfolios. I feel like because of the change in time, that it's going to be a big wave of opportunity for a lot of people to be able to purchase homes,
Yep.
and really take advantage of the opportunities that's coming. So if you are in a position where your credit is not together, you have a score lower than 620, and you just in a lot of debt, please reach out to us because this is a year of opportunity and you don't want to miss the wave.
Right.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
let's talk about some things um that we need credit for, that
Hmm.
people don't realize that we need credit for.
Hmm.
Go ahead,
Go-
Rod. Let's you
Yeah,
can.
I don't say everything. Listen, it's one of those things where in this time and day and age, listen, if you don't have the cash for everything, you need credit. I mean, back in the day, you could get away with saying, "Oh, I just use cash for everything." Honestly, I'm gonna use safe words, but people that say that now, you just sound silly. That's a safe word I'll be used.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where things cost way too much money these days to just say that I just only use cash. That
Right.
era is officially done. I want to tell everybody that's still using that. That's no longer a thing.
Yep.
Um, it's one of those things where we need credit for everything.
Mhm, true.
Just to your point to you earlier on, talking about showing houses. To you, I went to a house
Mhm.
where you saw the sign. Where what did the sign say again?
So the number one thing on the list is that the requirement to rent this house was that they needed a 690 and above credit score. That's to rent a house. 690. I'm like, that's more than that requirement is more than you need to purchase a home.
Yeah.
You only need a 620 to get approved for a mortgage loan. So here you are asking people to have a credit score of 690, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a great point, because it's like, like you said, you saw on a list where they want a 690 credit score,
Yes.
and then just all these rules, and it's like a 690, which means that essentially you've made maybe one or two mistakes in the past year or so, 2 years or so, and so that's wild, like you said, because you can get a house for 620 or a condo for 620,
Right.
but more importantly, people are denying you access to a home or a place to live. That person is essentially saying it doesn't matter what happened in your life, if it's an accident or not, they're not taking any risk because your credit score is not in the considered good credit. They're not taking any risk. So that's hard to deal with, because think about, you're a good person, you pay your bills on time, and it could have been something as simple as one late credit card payment that happened, and now you're prejudged and you can't find a place to live, and from a customer side of it, it sucks. But from a business side of it, it's like, listen, you almost can't still blame them at the same time. Right. Because when you think about it, it's like saying, hey, as serious our times are now with everything going on, and you out here making certain mistakes to be messing up your credit, if you're messing up your credit, what are you going to do when it comes time to renting? What are you going to do if you run on hard times? Are you making the right decisions? And so credit is super important, man. I mean, just even in the renting world, is just so crazy how landlords now are not taking less than good credit. They're just not. It's just too much of a risk or a red flag at the end of the day.
Right. Another thing too, going back to what T said about the judgments, how important it is to make sure you are staying on top of what you're getting, these judgments that's coming against you. Some are just ignoring them, and they're not knowing that they have a judgment against them until they are applying for a job. Mm-hmm. So, I had one person who she applied for a job, and lo and behold, they told her when they pulled her records that she had a judgment against her, and she couldn't get hired. She had no clue. So it's important that you guys don't ignore these notifications. I know, times is hard, but communicate with some of them. These credit card companies, a lot of these loan companies, credit card companies, they do have hardship programs where they will allow you to like make a certain payment, or cut the payment in half and have you pay it and make payments until you get caught up. So it's very, very, very important, because like you said, Ra, you can be making your payments on time for 2-3 years straight. That one late payment is going to drop your score like a good 30 to 40 points. And guess what? Even though you start paying on time for the next 2-3 months, it's going to take at least 9 to 10 consecutive payments, on-time payments, for you to gain those points back that you lost. So it's almost like you're starting all over again. So it's easy to drop, but it's not so easy to gain those points right back right away.
No, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And then even to going on the other level too, even another way of credit affects you. Today we are on a call today, just in general, like when it comes to credit, even for a business, like if you're trying to start up a business, a lot of times, business start off with your personal credit when you're trying to get a loan. Because remember, if you have a business, you're not going to get a business loan or a regular loan that easy if they don't know you and you have an established equity in your company or been doing business for a long time and showed a great track record of bringing in a certain amount of income. So a lot of times the business owners out there, credit affects you, because initially they at least need to see that your personal credit's on point to give you that business loan. You need to run your business. So credit even affects you on a business level. In so many ways. I mean, that's one of them. I mean, the other way is insurance, car insurance, like in all these type of stuff. There's a section of it, they run your credit. So even down to you getting your rate for your car, your policy, where your credit is at even affects you on that level. So I mean, there's so many ways credit affects you in your life, and people don't realize how serious it is.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. What I always tell our clients is that your credit is like your financial report card, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
basically the same thing like with school, how we expect for the kids to be A, B students. A part of being mature and growing up is just knowing that you have to be responsible, right? It's the same thing that we tell our kids. It's no different than, you know, like what the Bible teaches us about finances and money. We have to be more disciplined. Um, and it's just a matter of making better decisions, unlearning everything that we learned to relearn it again,
Yes.
and moving forward, just being more educated because of the lack of knowledge that we have when it comes down to financial literacy. That's why we tend to get ourselves in these hurdles. Um, and it really sets us back, right? And then you don't realize it until you're ready to go rent that apartment, or you're ready to go apply for that job, and you see how bad it has affected you. And one thing I want to just encourage everybody is to not be fearful. Don't be fearful of these creditors and these bills and these in the debts that you have. This is something you've occurred, and it's not a mountain that you cannot climb. You can get over it. You know, it's just debt. Like a lot of times we get bills in the mail and we're so stressed out about them that we won't even open it. Like you cannot be that much in fear and that depressed to the point where you're just ignoring things, because that's not being an adult,
Yeah.
right?
True.
You have to be financially responsible, and you can't just pretend like it's not happening, because
Mm.
the only thing that happens when you pretend like it's not happening, it just gets worse and worse. And like T suggested, you know, a lot of these companies have things in place to where they can help you. You know, they're not there to just hurt you. They want their money back ultimately. So they're going to
Right.
do whatever they have to do to
Hmm.
make sure that, you know, you guys can meet somewhere in the middle. No, they're not going to be always, generous and delete everything every time you make a mistake. You know, like sometimes how we can call the bank and say, hey, man, I overdraft. Could you please remove that overdraft fee? You know,
Right. Right.
creditors are not so much accepting of it, because it's just like how we tell our kids, you know, when they have a test at school, the teacher doesn't necessarily let you make up the test because you didn't prepare. You need to prepare. You need to be ready. Um, and that's just the same thing when it comes down to the financial world. So if we are in a place of, you know, you have to make smarter decisions. If you're at the mall and you decide to buy these $400 glasses, and you know darn well you have no ways of paying these glasses off in the next, you know, month. And if the rule of thumb is, if you can't afford to buy it twice, you can't afford it, right?
Hmm.
So you shouldn't even be buying it, because now you've put yourself in a position where you have a judgment and you can't get a job because of glasses. Like
Right.
seriously, you know,
Right.
like you know, Louis Vuitton, Fendi,
Right.
Gucci, they're doing just fine, you know. But meanwhile, you're here, you can't even get a job because you decided to make a bad financial decisions. So I
Right.
think, you know, going into 2025, we have to first of all work our way out of debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Debt free is the goal 2025. We want to be the lender and not the borrower
That's
going
right.
forward,
That's
right? That's the
right.
goal. And also we want to use other people's money, just like
Yeah.
how other cultures do. They know how to maneuver in this world. They don't use their cash. Cash is king, but you need to keep it in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know, and
Right.
use your it's just like a game of chess. You know, you strategize, be smart about the decisions that you're making. The cash that you have, I've always heard one of the worst things that the banks did for us was create a debit card, right? Nobody should
Hmm.
have a debit card, because you're supposed to be using your credit card to pay off the things you need to your needs, right? Things like your rent, your utility bills, your gas, your even your groceries. Because with a lot of these credit cards, they have point systems, so you can earn points, cash back,
Cashback,
right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the
rewards.
games that we want to be involved in. We want to play in the same games that the rich people are playing in, because it's the only way that we're going to be able to get ahead is by taking the opportunities that are presented to us and using them wisely, But we have to first change our mindset and stop
Right.
spending so much money. We spend so much money to look good and to prove points to our people that we are doing better when we're really not. And at nighttime, we're really struggling, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just to put on a, just it's all for a front. So I think when you get to the point where you're tired of fronting and want better for yourself, you just start automatically making wiser decisions. And you're like, you know what? I have to get my credit together because it's the only way that I'm going to really free myself from these
Mm-hmm.
burdens.
Not
Mhm.
only that, with credit too, is what we find a lot of clients come to us is they know they need to fix it and they procrastinate. And so they want to fix it when they need it and when they absolutely need it. And that's the worst thing that you can do. Don't wait until you actually need it, whether it's buying a house or buying um, land or anything like that, anything into real estate and stuff like that, because credit is key. Not only that, people don't realize that your car insurance is based on your credit as well. So you have a score. There's a scoring system for your car insurance. Yes, it's based off of whatever city and state you live in, but your credit score plays a big part on how high your car insurance is. And back to Ra's point about your credit. Some people get into a bind where they have to get a car, and guess what? Your scores is in 500s, low 600s. Your interest rates is going to be sky high. We know the
Mhm.
average car payment is what, $400 or $500. Me and Rob was
Mhm.
talking about that earlier. But if you have a car payment that's $750, $800, I can't even imagine paying that amount for a car payment. But guess what? You wind up getting that because your interest rate is sky high because your credit scores aren't good. Interest rates are high as it is, but having a low credit score just makes it even worse. You know, interest rates
Yeah.
are high on credit cards, period.
Mhm.
So we have to be
Yeah.
smart. We have to be smart. We have to, like you said, Tiana, in 2025, we just have to do better. We can't say we're going to try. Take
Mhm.
that word out of your vocabulary. Let's not say I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to try to do that. You have to speak things into existence. We have to speak it. We have to claim it even when we don't see it. Face faith. You don't see faith. It's things that you hope for, right? So you
Yeah.
have to you we like you said, it's so important to change our mindset about our spending. And one last thing, just because things are on sale does not mean you have to buy it. Let me tell y'all. So I did the Faith and Finance workshop, and I actually brought that up on savings and budgeting. And I
Mhm.
brought that up. It's like, buying for necessities, like you said, T, non-essential things. And people will all automatically say, oh, well, I don't spend unnecessarily. But let's think about it. Okay, so if you go to the grocery store, and I said this Wednesday, you go to the grocery store, you're buying the food that you need, correct?
Mhm.
That's meats, that's veggies, that's fruit. But do you really have to pick up those pack of cookies or the ice cream or the chips? Like, do you really have to have those things? That to me is non essential. That is not a necessity. That is a want because you want something sweet or you want something salty. So people have to like really change their mindset, even something down to as little as just buying cookies,
Mhm.
stuff like that. So it like you said, it really is a mindset thing.
It
No,
really
no.
is. That's so funny that you say that, T, because, like, I know you're not supposed to talk about your fasting experience, but I
Mhm.
do want to just say that fasting really helps you save.
Right.
It's done wonders for me. So,
I love it. I love it.
I'm like, this, I need to do this more often.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. And then
yes.
also, I wanted to bring up the fact that you said somebody's paying $800 for a car note, right?
Hmm.
That's $9,600 every year that they're paying. And now the average car note is usually about 5 years. They're spending $48,000 on that vehicle. And I just hope that it's not a Hyundai or because I want to be in a Bentley if I'm spending $48,000 over the next 5 years. You know what I'm
No, that's
saying?
crazy.
Listen.
Like that's crazy. That's
It
crazy.
is.
And we have to stop. We have to stop and we have to just rethink these things. Or, you know, maybe you can afford to pay $800 for the car, but have an investment in place that's paying for these things. You know, get yourself a rental property where at least if you know after you pay the mortgage, you have a little bit left over to put towards the car note. We have to be strategic about the things that we're paying for. We have to find other ways of creating multiple streams of income in order to pay for the things that we really want. You know, it's nothing wrong with wanting those things, but to work hour by hour just for a car is just crazy to me because ultimately, I mean, that's what we're all trying to get back is our freedom, our time. Time is the most
Mhm.
valuable thing that we have. We just, as you can see, it's just like I said, this week is just, it just flew by. We're never going to get those days back, you know?
Right.
And
Mhm.
so we just have to be more conscious of that. And like I said, sometimes when you don't have money or you're on something like a fast or you're dieting, you really realize how much you spend in excess or you just overdo things just for no reason. You know what I mean? It really makes you think about the things like, do I really need that? Or do I just really want it?
Plus, credit overall, it just costs you more money. This is the reality of the situation is that it just costs you more money. The more messed up your credit is, the more you're paying in interest all
Yeah.
the way across the board. Remember, if your credit is not where it's supposed to be, or at the very minimum for creditors to trust you on a basic level, that means you're overpaying for everything you touch. You know what I mean? So to your point, if you have a car loan, you're going to be paying a higher interest rate. If you have a credit card, you're still paying a high interest rate because when you get credit cards, they typically start you off at 25% or so. But once your credit's at a certain level, first off, you can tell them to lower your interest rate on your credit card. And second, if you apply for other credit cards, you can get the best interest rate up front.
Right.
Buying a home, you can always refinance out of it, but starting out, if your credit is as high, your interest rate is higher. But so it's so many ways that you pay more in interest. I mean, down to you going to furnish your house and you get a store credit card, you're paying a high interest rate if your credit's not where it needs to be. So these things affect you on every single level, and
Yeah.
to the point if you own a home or something like that, and you need to something goes wrong, a boiler goes or something like that, and then now you got to get your credit's not that great, but somebody approved you. You're paying a high interest rate for that. So a boiler that would have cost you, $6,000 with good credit is going to cost you $7,500 with bad credit. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
you just find yourself also just doing different things because if you don't have the cash, because remember, if you're in a stage where you can't get approved for something, now you got to borrow from people and all that type of stuff, or do desperate things. That's that saying that goes, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yep.
It affects people's lives. I mean, it's one of those things where, I'll give a good example, being in the insurance industry and looking at people's houses and stuff like that. And, I've stepped in some people's homes where, the mold is growing everywhere. The roof's about to cave in. And guess why? They got the house, but they didn't maintain their credit and they couldn't afford to finance a roof and things like that. I remember stepping in a home one time, someone just had straight mold all the way around their house and been living in that for years, which is that literally killing themselves, but had
Yeah.
no choice. They did the right thing in terms of having a home, but unfortunately, I don't know what happened in their life, but clearly, they didn't have the cash because if they did, it would be fixed, and clearly they didn't have the credit because they'd have been able to get these things taken care of. So
Right.
it's not just important to have credit, just to have credit, but it's a part of survival right now in America. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have your credit, like you're slowly killing yourself. I mean, we're not trying to sound dramatic here, but this is the truth. This is actual real life stuff that's going out here. And
No. Yeah.
yeah.
You're speaking absolute truth, Ron, because I'm even just with these last couple of weeks, just seeing a lot of the houses that are on the market, especially in Connecticut, New York. And when you go inside, you're just like, what are these people doing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
I mean, that's why like you said, it's important to have credit because just a little paint can go a long way. And
Mm-hmm.
just the proper cleaning. It's just I just need to do a whole live on getting it together. Get your house in order, people.
No, but to your point, T, like that's a great point you brought up though, because that same example, right? It's evident that that person selling the home doesn't have enough cash to do the extra paint job or the time to do the paint job because they're working because they don't have enough cash. You know what I mean? So it's a vicious cycle. So that's a huge difference because to your point, that person, that scenario, you know, if they had the cash or they had the credit at least, they could have got that all done, and that could be the difference from a house selling from $350,000 from selling for $420,000. That's how big of a difference it could be. You know what I mean? And imagine that situation where your credit gets you back on that way, where it's just like, man, because we all know, you know, you're in interior design, and that's part of what we do. Is staging and making your house look beautiful is always going to get you top dollar.
Yes.
You know what I mean? A house could be a beauty, but if it's a mess and all that type of stuff, you're losing 30, 40, 50, 60 grand just on presentation alone. But if you, to your point, you had the credit to do that. Like, listen, I don't got the cash right now, but listen, I'm going to go ahead and get this little paint company, put it on a credit card. And guess what? If this gets sold in 3 months, I'll pay a little interest on it. But it's going to make me extra 30, 40 grand. I don't care if I pay extra $1,000 interest. I made extra 29 when it's all said. Like, it's crazy out here how credit impacts
it's true. Everything. It's true. Like, even to your point, Rod, like, thinking about the house that I showed the other day, the one with the 690 credit score. So the requirements for that one was you had to have a 690 plus credit score. You had to make 2.5 to 3 times the monthly rent, which was $2,300 a month was the rent. So you had to make at least 2.5 to 3 times that amount a month to qualify was one of the requirements. It was an oil-based oil heating, which they did offer to fill it up when the person moves in. It was for a renter to move in, and then once they left, it had to be filled when they left. However, I will tell y'all the importance of staging, like you said. The house was so beautiful. It had a huge yard, huge front yard, huge backyard. The basement was full. They did a lot of great updates on it. Floors was glossy. They had the curtains up. To your point, staging is so important. The past few houses that I've shown, the staging was beautiful. And some people shop based off of what they see. Everybody don't have the vision like T. I'm sure you can walk into a house and look around and can turn it into a whole nother house just by standing in it and looking around. But think about the people who just trying to get stuff now, the younger generations, or people who don't have that vision. So like you said, not painting, not cleaning up and stuff like that. You just lost a sale just based off of how it looked.
You're so right, T. It's like, because, you know, the average, especially a first-time home buyer, you know, in their mind, this is their first home. They want it to be a dream. They want something where they can show off for their family, their friends, when they have their housewarming party. So, you know, you're not looking to start a fresh house and have to come in and do so much work, right? You want at least want something appealing. So, I mean, these people are going in and they're like, oh, the paint, it was just horrible. And then they just had, you know, the floors, it was like leaning on.
It's crazy.
It's really turning them away. So it's really, really important to have that, you know, extra money or have the credit to be able to invest in your property so you can get the top dollar, so it's not on the market for so long. Because that's another thing, you know, even us as realtors, we see something on the market 155 days, and I want to know why, you know, and it could be your paint job. But now, you know, I'm not going to push my client to go into that house necessarily because it's a concern for me. I want to see why everybody else rejected it. And it could just be the appeal or how you staged the house. You didn't really put any effort into caring for it. So it makes the new buyer hesitant, like, you know, I don't know if I really want this house. So something to really consider.
And then the last thing I would say is, I know we got to wrap up soon. See a comment in there from Self Love. She said, creditors prey on the lack of financial education in communities. And that's very true. That's a good last point to close out on. It's one of those things where, listen, America is ran on credit, So you respectfully understand that it is designed for you to not know credit. It is designed for you to, if you make one or two mistakes, that's where, overall the America wants you to be at. Because for business wise, is that if you have perfect credit and you don't really make many mistakes, they know from a business standpoint you can't be bamboozled into sales and different things because you make conscious decision. But if you made one or two mistakes, you're trustworthy enough for them to approve you, but charge you more, and know that you're probably going to make a decision on pressured situations. Why? Because it's the truth. Like, listen, if you know your credit's not that great and somebody approve you, what's our natural instinct? Oh, I got approved, so I'm just going to go with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not going to really read the terms that you're getting into and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's true. And it is a business. Everything's a business. America's a business. Relationships a business. A lot of businesses. So we got to get in the business of getting our credit together. So I would say that's the good last part. And the last thing I would say, we should probably just give the people some information. We all at Legacy Builders here, we work on credit. We do everything finances. So I would say, everybody should definitely go out, check out the site. You go to the YouTube page, as you see on the screen, legacybuilderus.com, check us out. Because again, we do everything finances. We help fix your credit, savings and budgeting, everything under the sun. Get you prepared to buy a home, protect your life and life insurance with your family. So everything finance centered, we definitely do. And last thing, we got a couple events coming up. Got an event coming up on March 1st, which is going to be in Stanford, as well as March 15th. So we're talking about home ownership. Yeah, what was that one for the March 1st? What was that lady's name?
March 1st is our home seminar, home buyer seminar, where we're going to have us Legacy Builders, where we're going to talk about a little bit of everything, definitely credit. And we're going to have our loan officer, our guest, Mr. Chris Crespo with United Mortgage. He's going to be dropping some information on you guys to help you if you are new to home buying or want to learn more information because you're interested in home buying. He's going to be there to give you some information. March 1st, Stanford, that's 2777 Summer Street, 7th floor. And then March 15th, same location. That's going to be our finance and fun. You guys know, if you've been to our events in the past, we definitely talk finance, but make it fun. There'll be games, prizes, food, entertainment. Just come out. So be on the lookout. You can check it out on our website. We have the events up on there, or you can inbox any one of us.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say make sure you come. It's very important to be surrounded by like-minded individuals. And if you're on the same path or you feel like you align with us in any kind of way with what the goals that we have in place for 2025 and beyond, come and just show up and let's grow together. We have a lot of different professionals that's going to be there. You never know who you might meet. Sometimes that's how God does bless you, is by putting you in front of the right people. So you have to make an effort to come out because faith without works is dead. And the last thing I wanted to say when it comes to credit is, if you ever hear these words, bad credit, it's okay. We take you, run.
You ain't lying. Interest rate, your car payment be $1 million. Like, listen, you're not lying. Those be the worst terms of all time. You ain't lying.
That's right. And
bad credit, no problem. It's a problem.
It's a problem.
It's gonna be.
Listen, that's funny you say that though, because that one dude on the radio, like, I'm like, he's just out of control. He's like, we could approve you. Not even God could approve you. Cause like, what? Like, you taking it way too far though. Like, you thinking that God though, like.
Oh my God.
I'm like, who hired this guy?
Yeah, like, you out of control, boy, I tell you.
Right. But to end on a positive note, one of our comments is from Mr. Curtis Willis, and he says he doesn't get on here all the time when we go live. He says, but he truly appreciate all that we do and for blessing everyone with such knowledge. So he's thanking us for jumping on and sharing all that we know. We appreciate that comment. Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.
And that's what we do. That's what we love. We're a group of people with integrity. We care about the people we work with, and we total transparency. We just want to help you make it to the next level and keep climbing higher and higher and higher.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Because we are family.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
Okay.
All right, everybody. It was a pleasure, and we'll be back. We'll be back. So be on the lookout for us. Please follow us on YouTube, like at Legacy Builders Us. Subscribe, hit that bell, and just share as much as possible, because each one teach one. We want to try to reach out to our community. We're here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
All
right. You
right,
guys have a
everybody.
good evening.